Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar fan commentary track. This one is going to be for Book 3 Fire Episode 5, The Beach. So continue to suggest other episodes of Avatar and Korra for me to do in future commentaries in the comments below. But to sync up your copy of the episode with this commentary track, have your copy of the DVD, Blu-ray or online stream or whatever ready to go at the start of this episode, including the introduction. I'm going to stop speaking at the end of this introduction to the video in just a little bit. Then there'll be about 10 seconds of pause with no audio. And then when I come back speaking after that pause, that's when I'll hit play, that's when you should hit play, and we should be synced up. So, bringing the introduction of the video to an end, after the pause and you hear me speak again, you press play, I press play, and we should be synced up. Okay, so here we are with 305, The Beach. I have this rated in or around the, I think, number 29 spot on my list, so just above halfway. There are episodes that are better than this, there are episodes that are weaker than this, but I think it is sort of a memorable episode. Some people don't like this one as much because it gets sort of very teen drama-y. But because it's kind of the only episode that really gets into it, I don't mind it too much. I think this is a strong episode for development for Zuko, Mai, Ty Lee, and Azula. And so it ends up being a very memorable episode for me because I think especially of the Azula stuff. Some people may just look at this and be like, oh, it's Azula actually being a teen. But if you really go into her character, wait, Azula being a teen, is that something that's actually possible? And it opens the door to this completely different side of her that this episode reveals she doesn't really have. And so you see her not being good at something and having to ask others for advice, Ty Lee in this case. And so this is what I think informs a lot of like my thoughts when it comes to sort of Azula and like where she will develop towards, because this is our insight into Azula when she's not just trying to manipulate people and so on. So yeah, all the teens have been put on a forced vacation to Ember Island. And yeah, the idea of like Ember Island is just this place that even if you don't want it, it ends up just bringing these kind of things out of you and just smoothing those jagged edges around the side and smoothing you into a better person. And they all go in not really expecting to, not wanting to, very teen, like, oh, they're forcing us to do this, but ends up working out pretty well in the end, and that you highlight that they actually do all get on quite well as a group. As we saw from like the past back in like Zuko Alone, they grew up together, so you know they have this dynamic, and we get to see that here when they're teens. So yeah, Lo and Lee. And I like that, like, you get Mai and Ty Lee focused quite heavily in this one as well. That, of the four, like, in a way, like, to us as characters, like, Azula and Zuko are, like, the main characters, so, like, they're solid. And Mai and Ty Lee are sort of the more kind of odd ones because they're the more minor characters who we sort of view as having more of the, like, different, unique personalities. But this episode highlights that Mai and Ty Lee actually sort of, in a way, are the more normal ones, and it's actually the royal siblings who are the very odd ones who don't quite fit in with the others. So yeah, this is the episode we get to see everyone in their swimwear, of course. But this is also the Combustion Man sort of proper introduction episode. And yeah, this is just the idea of, like, you know, the Fire Nation just in general is on the lookout for Aang, so of course, like, he gets spotted here. And Combustion Man intercepts this. Like, you wonder how the series would have went if this just got through normally, this information that they spotted the Avatar just came out normally like this, instead of Combustion Man specifically finding it. But Zuko in this episode more or less sort of reveals and I suppose fulfills Azula's suspicions that she believes Aang may still be alive, given some of the wording of what Zuko says towards the end of the episode. But yeah, there's some very memorable episodes here. Obviously, this is right towards the end of the series, so the fandom is fully established at this point, and we get some fan service here, both in terms of just like, you know, okay, characters in swimwear, but just moments that you kind of just want with the characters, just this team hanging out. And yeah, this is where we see just Ty Lee sort of ends up sort of becoming almost like the main character for a little bit here, because everyone loves Ty Lee. She's the one who stands out the most. And Azula is jealous of her, and that's very interesting. Of just Ty Lee's personality stands out more to people. And then May and Zuko's relationship, I think it's just great. Just how different it is to like everything else. It's interesting, like you kind of like just think with the way Nickelodeon is, like they let them do this design for Ty Lee here, but okay. Yeah, real smooth Zuko. And you eventually see sort of Zuko begin to sort of blow up basically as the episode goes on. And later on you see more of like the key points of the dynamic that really stands out. There's some fan service right there. Zuko's fangirls. And it's kind of interesting that, like, you know, he has the scar, but like he still has people very, very attracted to him. And then, yeah, Azula's analysis even applies to, like, games like this. Just, yeah, perfect team captain, I suppose. The team is just, they're expert martial artists, benders, so of course they're just dominant in all of this. This catches the attention of the popular guys. But what's interesting here, again, is that the people that they go for are Ty Lee and May, not really Zuko and Azula. That's just that reverse dynamic. Because the people don't really know Azula and Zuko as being royalty, they don't stand out as much, being kind of very casual about that. And they're like, okay. And then this is an interesting one. Azula, who always talks about, you know, her being so proud of her kind of royal lineage, her right to rule. She's actually like, no, this is interesting. I want to see how people treat us when they don't know we're royalty. Why would she even think that, given the way she is? Intrigued. With the idea of, like, that was sort of an Ember Island decision. Like, maybe typically Azula wouldn't do that, but here, she tries it. There we go. And yeah, here we go. The Hawk. This kind of giant, like, vulture thing is that the Combustion Man has is pretty cool. Again, just those little things of just them highlighting the animals at times. This is one of the more minor kind of points, but just this bird is sort of more powerful than this one. And here we go. Combustion Man, of course. Before he's named. That's like the only time we see him use normal firebending, if I remember correctly from the entire series. him just looking at that paper and burning it, kind of highlighting that, like, oh, like, okay, so is that him just staring at something, focusing, and just creating a little spark so that it just ignites something? Highlighting the idea that he isn't just like a psychic firebender, but like he's just using a little bit of that power to do that. So a little bit of subtlety from Combustion Man's ability there. That's quite interesting. Admiral Chan, of course, was mentioned in one of the earlier episodes. I think the first episode of this season, they mention him when they're trying to stay undercover. And yeah, here's Azula being attracted to someone. Trying to give a compliment, but again, a little bit too analytical, and like, this would work when manipulating someone, but not quite here. And Zuko's just oddly jealous straight from the start. Far too intense. Highly strong. It's just interesting to see like the clothing here as well. Just like this is what all the teens on the beach are wearing. And she's just trying to be too nice to all of them. And okay, yep, G-blocking, of course. And here is Azula kind of snapping at Ty Lee. And Ty Lee just likes being kind of just nice to people. She doesn't like letting people down. And it's an actually apologetic Azula for like, I actually said something bad there, I'm sorry. And this is a huge moment for Ty Lee. Like, she considers Azula the most perfect girl in the world, and like, here's something that she excels at that Azula doesn't. And I suppose it's just Ty Lee admires just how extraordinarily confident Azula is, but that scares guys off, I suppose. And here's just, you know, teenager tactics here. But if it works, it works. To get what you want. And again, this is one of those moments where it's like, oh, actual friendship between the two of them. Especially given the way those two were introduced in terms of Azula getting Ty Lee to join the group. You almost really question, was there anything there? But moments like that highlight that there was an actual friendship. And I like how she sort of has success by using Ty Lee's tactics here. That there's sort of, it's a scene that shows you that there is sort of hope for her. That this character who's defined completely by just manipulation and stuff like that, there is a sense that she could be normal. Just like with a bit of development, like being around the right people a bit more, she could be, you know, more like a Zuko. That there's still that, you know, element of hope there. But she ruins it here. Just like, whoa, way too intense. Just in different ways. The issue with Zuko and Azula, just from different perspectives, I suppose. Not really their environment. And here is Zuko really about to blow up. And like, what a powerful push. Like, that guy was sent flying. And this is kind of that like core in their relationship of like, one is maybe too intense, one not intense enough. And the dynamic that you get with May is that because she doesn't like to show her emotions so much, the second there is a little bit of an argument, she removes herself from what's going on. And they cover this a little bit more in Smoke and Shadow as well, of just that idea of, like, I suppose her realizing that love hurts. The fact that you can be hurt by being in a relationship with someone is something that she has to deal with and explore, given the type of character that she is, why she is kind of so, why she holds her emotions back so much. I just think it is quite interesting dynamic that, okay, yes, this is a couple that, you know, they've broken up a few times, but it's because both of them needed development. Zuko had so much going on that he needed to sort out, but May also did as well in relation to just, you know, her own kind of how open or not she is with her emotions. And just being willing to accept that sometimes things can get intense in a relationship without needing to break it off. And that's why it's, like, I think most people assume when May and Zuko finally do get back together, it probably will be for good this time. But here we go. Walk down memory lane here. And of course, Ursa. The good times. That previous experiences here was when the family was good. Before things were so intense and, I suppose, competitive between Zuko and Azula, Ozai playing favorites and so on. And just like, what's going through Zuko's head at this confusing time? We're not quite at the, you know, the time when he's making the big decision. So he's sort of like midway between, like, having huge doubts and doubling down by sending, like, Combustion Man out to take out the Avatar for good. But here we go. Boom. Combustion bending. Explosions. It's a pretty cool fight just because of how powerful this ability is. Of just, boom, just activates it, and regardless of what's fired at him, it's just gone. He's just, like, relentless, and that's the power of a combustion bender. And so, okay, we're building up to the big campfire scene where they all get their feelings out. And I really love this scene. I actually do think it works really well to just explore a bit of character for everyone. Because up until this point, you don't know a lot about May and Ty Lee specifically. And then you've rarely, if ever, seen this side of Azula. So this is important for 3 of these characters specifically, but they also make sure to give Zuko a very big notable moment in terms of his eventual kind of growth. Building towards the idea of the big thing with Zuko, realizing, comes back from the war meaning, I wasn't me. What is the first step to getting there? It's what he says in his big speech here at the end. That place looks familiar, with the finale in mind. Just the big field of rocks. Perfect for a bending fight. And it's just, this guy's just pure power. This is such a cool slow-mo shot. Of just, like, barely making it out. And then, so cool, just using the earthbending to sort of absorb the blow by going through the pillar. And yeah, that's very clever. The exact details of this fight, you almost forget it because this episode is so memorable for being the Fire Nation teen plot, but there's some nice action there with the kind of debut of Combustion Man. And yeah, burning the picture, including his mother. And here we go. It's about to get very, very intense here. And this is interesting. Like, we don't know much about like Zuko and Ty Lee's dynamic, really. Like Azula laughing. But why? Why is a Fire Nation noble? Why did she join the circus? Six identical sisters. That's a nice, just like kind of simple to the point, but like complex kind of little backstory. And there's a lot of like, whoa, you really said that going on here. And then Tylee's just like, oh, I'm not the only one getting talked to here. What about you, May? And like Tylee and May are like almost the closest of these four. Why don't you show any emotion? You had a happy home life. And so they kind of all gang up on each other, but it helps to get some of this out. And yeah, like Zuko wants her to sort of fight for something, anything. And they're all like, yeah, it was fine, except this. Once she behaved. But if she did ever do anything wrong, you know, she did get punished. And so that's what kind of led to her sort of repressing her feelings. She was shut down constantly, so she never really shows her feelings. And there, her standing up for herself. Like, I think it's really well acted here as well. And just these little comments and I'm taking them very personally. And here we go. Thinks I'm a hero. The smile there. Zuko basically just admitted that, like, the reason he thinks I'm a hero is a lie. So who is he angry at? And just all the questions come out here. This is a big reveal in a way. Why is he like this? Is it Ozai? And it's not Ozai. He has issues with Ozai, but it's not the cause of this. And there we go. He blames himself. He's angry at himself for the decisions, not knowing why he's making these decisions, being so confused. Having all of these doubts. And just that their makeup is as simple as that. But who hasn't spoken this whole time? Apart from joining in the insults? Azula. She's perfect. And she's like, oh yeah, I am. But she also has a but. And there. She doesn't really care. And that's huge. That's her issue. That's the way she... And she masks it by like, oh, a little bit of humor. But that's the core issue with it. Of Azula thinks Ursa thinks she's a monster. And it's, I suppose, Azula acknowledging sort of her own behaviour and how it, not great it is. But also there's the issue. Her and her mother wishing that, you know, she had more attention from Ursa. And that's kind of one thing she's jealous of Zuko for getting that attention from her. And we haven't really come back to this. Like, the search touched on it, but they honestly haven't come back to it. And that's what's so interesting, is that this is the episode where we do actually delve into that side of her character, of highlighting that her being raised primarily by Ozai means she learned all these amazing skills of like manipulation and firebending and so on, but she doesn't have a lot of the basic skills of just, interacting with people normally, how to gain people's trust by just being nice, being friends, the value of caring for people and approaching people in like a good way. She has to learn a lot of these things from Ty Lee suddenly on the spot. Doesn't understand this or that, and it highlights that Ozai raised her to be this sort of lieutenant in a way on the front lines, and just his tool in the field to do what he needs done. Not really as a daughter, and you're seeing her sort of, in a way, suffering for that at the moment, of like having so much that's like fundamentally missing in a way. The stuff that Zuko has the care for others, but Azula doesn't quite. There's only the slightest touch of it in there, as we see in parts of this episode. The fact that Azula can be insecure, Azula can be jealous, she can be hurt by things, and then similarly with May, like just finding out a strict upbringing has led to her being like this. And with Ty Lee, just the desire to want to be more unique, not just be constantly forever in a group with her sisters. The want to do something that is unique and just inherently her is why she does what she does, and why she kind of has these sort of quirks that like none of the other characters really have, of like constantly talking about auras and so on. That's quite interesting, and I like that you ultimately get like a resolution on that, in that by the end of the show, Ty Lee joins the Kyoshi Warriors, a group where in the full getup they all look the same, and she's comfortable at that point with that, comfortable with being part of a group, a set, and that's interesting, development. And of course with May, we saw a lot of development for her in Smoke and Shadow. Just the decision to betray Azula and side with Zuko at the end is a very strong one. And if they can finally reintroduce May into a new story and get Zuko and May back together, they'll really bring that sort of, just character arc of that relationship full circle. Because I think everyone wants to see it at this point. It's just, tell us a story that covers this stuff again, please. But yeah, pretty strong episode for sure. Again, is it the most impactful episode? No, in that they still tackle like bigger things, like the good side of Nightmares and Daydreams tackles like the really important sort of, this is why Zuko is going to side with the Avatar going forward and into the eclipse and so on. But also you get stuff like Azula pretty much figuring out that, yes, the Avatar is pretty much alive. You confirmed it for me there with what you said. That even in the middle of this sort of heated debate between all of them, she gets the information she wants out of it, which is definitely kind of cool to see. But yeah, like Ember Island, we come back here, of course. This is where the group hangs out just before the Sozin's Comet, the finale happens, and yeah, it's a cool place. Like the entire end of the series sort of in a way happens here. It definitely works quite well. And yeah, like I said, just a strong character episode that was, I think, very, very much needed for May, Azula, and Ty Lee, Ozai's Angels. It was absolutely needed to get the focus on those three. But Zuko played his role as well. So yeah, they're my thoughts on the episode. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts are. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.